Hey everybody, Dr. Dan here, and this is week 15 of History 3380, Business Technology in American Society. And this week we're going to study a gentleman whose name is Robert Noyce, and you're going to watch a video called Podfather. It's a long video, it's a documentary, but I want you to all watch it because Noyce is one of these people that you've probably never heard of, but he's at the same time, arguably one of the most important inventors in U.S. history. And I would say also, as far as business itself is concerned, his style of leadership and what he brought into the business world in Silicon Valley is worth noting. The other thing I want you to think about as we move forward, and I didn't really talk about it last week with RCA, but if you remember the beginning of the semester, we spent a little bit of time on Alexander Hamilton and patent law, and we talked about how important patents were to drive innovation. You know, you can bring that story full circle because as you've read about anyone from Edison to RCA now all the way to Robert Noyce and moving on to Apple Computer, that idea of patents that protect inventions is important. So you can kind of make that connection between all the way back to Alexander Hamilton to Robert Noyce and Silicon Valley. So I just want you to think about that, and that's something we'll have on the final exam. There'll be a question about that connection between the past and the emerging future, if you will. So think about those things. So this week we're going to talk about Robert Noyce, and he's one of my favorite characters in the whole story. He's a kid from Grinnell, Iowa, very intelligent, became an electrical engineer and moved out to Silicon Valley. And in the late 1950s, 57, 58, 59, the idea of the integrated circuit was already being looked at by many people at Bell Labs and other electronics companies. And so the first integrated circuit comes about in 1958. There was a guy named Jack Kilby, who invented the first integrated circuit. And Robert Noyce, who you're going to learn about this week, came along and kind of perfected the integrated circuit from a standpoint of making it easily manufactured. So by being able to basically print these circuits, if you will, you could bring the cost of them way down. And when you watch the Podfather video, you'll see how this all occurred and how Noyce went out on a limb and started selling chips for less than it cost to make them, but eventually the cost came down so much that it worked out really well for him. Now, the company Intel, who's still around today, that's Noyce's company, but it wasn't the company that he founded right away. He worked for some other manufacturers. You'll learn about Fairchild Semiconductor and how that evolved into Intel with people like Gordon Moore and Robert Noyce, of course, and Andy Grove. So it's a great story. The other thing, besides the importance of the technology and the company, is the management style that Noyce believed in, and it was this idea of open management. Everyone at Intel, when it started, had cubicles, and there wasn't any hierarchy. It wasn't like the president had a special parking space or a special office. Everyone was viewed as equal, and everyone was expected to contribute. So if you had ideas about a better way to do something or a better invention, you could go ahead and contribute those ideas. And it really ushered in this new era of workplace relations that we see mainly out west in Silicon Valley, but also around here. There are some innovative companies that don't treat workers like underlings, but create an environment where everyone is equal. So a lot of that, it comes from Robert Noyce as well. The other important thing here is just thinking about the integrated circuit itself. You're going to read a New York Times story about the integrated circuit, and I don't have to tell you how important it is. Everything we do today, whether it's this video I'm making, the computer I'm making it on, your cell phone, everything in your automobile, what controls the electrical grid, what controls medical devices, it all relies upon the integrated circuit. So arguably, maybe transportation with the railroad is one of the big breakthroughs with technology in this country, and then possibly communications with the telephone or the telegraph is another huge technological breakthrough. But I think that, the integrated circuit maybe eclipses all of them, because nothing has affected the way we live as much as the integrated circuit, whether it's enhancing communications, enhancing technology, giving us the ability to program computers and to have computers that can do calculations for us, that read our weather, that run all of our utilities, and really something that we're really dependent upon in this country. So the integrated circuit's important. Remember that it was invented in the late 1950s by Kilby, and then perfected by Noyce as far as manufacturing is concerned. And make sure you understand Noyce's importance as far as being really the father of Silicon Valley, not only in his inventions, but in the way he reshaped the workplace in American history. So that's it for this week. I'll see you next week. We're going to talk about Steve Jobs, and I hope you have a good, safe week. Thank you.